What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's Great Recall movement continues with dozens of opposition lawmakers now one step closer to getting voted out. Tiffany Wong reports from the legislature.
As of Wednesday, there are campaigns against 34 lawmakers, all from the KMT, that have made it into the second stage of the recall process. That means that they've already secured the support, the signatures of 1% of voters in their constituency, and those signatures have all been verified by the Central Election Commission. Now, there are 4 campaigns against lawmakers from the Democratic Progressive Party, the ruling party, that have not passed that stage. However, they have been given extra time to remedy signatures and paperwork in that stage. But campaigners in Greater Taipei are already scrambling to gather signatures in the second, tougher stage, where they'll need the signatures of 10% of constituents to sign their petitions. This is all part of a massive recall movement that was spurred by the ruling party's frustration with not being able to pass any bills because the opposition keeps blocking it. And their caucus leader called for a crusade against opposition lawmakers, but eventually we saw campaigns against 50 lawmakers across parties. But again, only those campaigns against the main opposition, Kuomintang, have moved forward so far. But recalls are still a difficult process in Taiwan. Only one lawmaker has ever been successfully removed in this manner before. And now in the second stage, there is the daunting task of getting 10% of constituents to sign those petitions. And the election officials will definitely be keeping a sharp eye on verifying those signatures before they move forward to the third stage. So it is possible that some of the campaigns would end here. But even if they do pass and make it to the final voting stage, they'll need to get the votes of 25% of constituents in their district to support the removal of this official in order to successfully remove them. And that's no easy feat, because in Taiwan, there's no such thing as absentee voting, meaning that people will have to go back to their hometowns and submit their ballot in person. The whole process could take months, and it's likely that if any of these pass onto the third voting stage, we won't actually see those votes happen until the fall. But until then, these campaigns are sure to keep legislators on edge. Devin Tsai, Kamastri, and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A Chinese social media influencer living in Taiwan has had her residency revoked. Immigration officials say the influencer Yaya in Taiwan posted social media videos that advocate for unifying Taiwan and China by force. They say this broke the law regarding her residency as a Chinese citizen in Taiwan, which says she cannot threaten national security or social stability. This is how Taiwan's Interior Minister explained the decision.
所有的台湾人都知道，言论自由不是天上掉下来的礼物，也不是武力统战或者是武力侵犯台湾的借口。台湾社会呢，你触犯到言论自由的底线，然后触犯到我们法律底线的话，我们希望用这个法律的规定来予以严格处理。
The influencer has defended herself, saying she wants peace across the Taiwan Strait and questioning the meaning of free speech in Taiwan. An Italian American is an unlikely candidate to work for Taiwan's ruling party, but that's who ran its Washington, D.C. office for over a decade. Leslie Liao met Michael Fonte in the U.S. Capitol and brings us this report.
Taiwan.
Italian-American Michael Fonte speaks one of Taiwan's native languages. He's fluent in Taiwanese Daigi, known by some as Holowe.
That's me studying Holowe, 1967, in Taitung, son-in-law.
Fonte learned it working as a Roman Catholic missionary in central Taiwan back in the 1960s. From those beginnings, Fonte would go on to become a prominent figure in Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party. He's good friends with former President Tsai Ing-wen and current Vice President Bi Kim-hsiao.
She's really a very warm person. You might not see that in action unless you got to know her well. So I consider her a real friend. I think she considers me a friend as well.
His house is decorated with honors and letters given to him by President Lai Ching-te and former Foreign Minister Joseph Wu. But Fante's name doesn't make headlines in Taiwan because he's mostly been in the United States, working for the DPP in Washington, D.C. How did Fante land that job? Well, he left Taiwan in 1970 after realizing that the social justice work he wanted to do just wasn't viable under Taiwan's authoritarian government at the time, which had imposed martial law.
I mean, one of my problems that I had when I was there was that the Roman Catholic hierarchy was not willing to see us do anything that would upset the government. Okay, deng.
Fante then pursued an Asian Studies degree at the University of Michigan, where he met leading Taiwanese democracy activists Peng Mingmin and Lin Zhongyi.
This one I really treasure because the woman I mentioned to you, who was Lin Zhongyi's daughter, Hyuk-bun, gave it to me.
Taiwanese Dai was at the time perceived as the language of the dissident community, and Fante's proficiency helped him become a conduit for democracy activist exiles in the U.S.
I know it was considered a bit of an irritant that we were studying Taiwanese, we were speaking Taiwanese, still an awful lot of nervousness on the KMT side about these people going to rise up.
Here we go. This is hard.
After a few years in California, Fante reconnected with Peng Mingmin in Washington in 1986, the same year the DPP was officially founded. Shortly thereafter, U.S. NGO, the National Democratic Institute, invited the party to Washington.
So Peng said to me, go be their gopher, take them around. So I did that, and I got to know all the founders. That's where I met Choi Ren, all the other people, Saw-Jin Zhong, people like that.
Cho and Su, leading DPP figures who went on to take government positions in the 2000s, helping the party expand its presence abroad.
I worked for 10 years as a consultant with Xiaobi Kim and Choi Ren. There was a DPP mission here from 1995 to 2000. B. Kim was actually in charge of it for a while.
And when the DPP reopened its U.S. mission in 2013, the party tapped Fante as the office's director. B. Kim Xiao, now the country's vice president, had gone on to become a legislator in Taiwan, and Fante was a staunch friend of the party.
I speak English. I know the Washington scene fairly well. I've got my degree in Asian studies, whatever the hell. It all worked together to make me a viable candidate at that point.
Fante was the perfect go-between for the DPP and U.S. policymakers.
Our job is to be as honest as we can with the DPP about what we're hearing here about policy from a variety of sources, mostly from the government in power here, but also the opposition as well.
Fante has since passed the torch as DPP's Washington director, but his love for Taiwan is still very much a part of him.
I'm Italian-American, and when I got to Taiwan, I realized family, food, and friends, right? It's the same for Taiwanese, it's the same for Italians. So it's very easy to feel part of that culture and make a lot of good friends.
From Brooklyn, New York, to the farms of central Taiwan, to Washington, D.C., Michael Fante probably never imagined that his early years as a missionary would spark a career in politics. And the Democratic Progressive Party probably never thought that one of its biggest overseas champions would be an Italian-American fluent in Dai. Leon Lien, Laurel Stewart, and Leslie Liao in Washington, D.C. for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow us on social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out this newly born dancing lemur cuddling with its parents and jumping around at a UK zoo. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.